Hi, everyone. I wanted to just go through a couple things as you're preparing to work through Chapter 7 for this learning plan for this week and next, actually, because it's spring break next week. So you'll notice the due dates for these assignments are not until March 19th. So originally I had tried to make our learning plans begin and end on a Thursday, and because I kept messing up, I ended up on Saturdays. So after break, I'd like to get back to Thursdays. So I will shoot for that to make sure that I'm on time in the future. But chapter 7, most of the chapter is charts. But the last part of the chapter, charts, not that I don't think it's important, but I don't think you'll have too much trouble working through that. More than anything, it can just be putsy. But just so that you know how to create charts, that's what the most important thing is to me. The chapter does go in a little bit into how to change all the colors and all that fun stuff, but it's most important that you know how to do it. At the very end of the chapter, we're talking about different functions, a couple more advanced functions that we haven't worked with before. Number one being the PMT function. Actually, I'm working out of page 201 in the book. I opened up the RP reports file just to work with the PMT function. So as you just look at the information that's here, we have equipment, we have a purchase price for the equipment, we have an interest rate and terms and month. So if you've ever purchased anything of a larger value, you've had to maybe borrow money to do that. For instance, a car, a home, so on. So the information we have here is equipment for a photographer who wants to purchase some higher priced equipment. And the PMT function can help you work through the monthly payments on that. Of course, we could figure all that stuff out ourselves. We would know how to do that. But the function can do that for you. So I want to show you how to do that on page, as I said, page 201 is where we begin. And we're going to start in cell E5, monthly payments there. A lot of times the book, sometimes it has you actually just type out the formula. Sometimes it has you open the formula. So just a reminder, we can go to formulas and we can go to all the different groupings for functions. But more than likely, once you're used to using a function, I just hit the FX button right here to bring up my functions. And if right now I'm showing the PMT, the if function, some of the more popular functions that we're going to use. If for whatever reason you're not seeing PMT in this grouping, and note that it will scroll down, you can always go to the drop-down menu and go to all, and then you can just scroll through all of the functions. So in this case, I'm going to choose PMT. I'm going to click OK. And once again, honestly, I can't remember if we've really talked about seeing functions within this window. I think this is the first time we're seeing more advanced functions like this. And I would always encourage you, when you have a more advanced function, to use this function arguments window, because it kind of walks you through how to use the formula. So for instance, here it has rate, and it tells me rate is the interest rate per period for the loan. Rate is the interest rate per period for the loan. For example, 6% divided by 4 for quarterly payments. Now in this case, we can see over here we're paying this in monthly payments. So our rate is going to be the interest rate, which appears in cell C5, and we're going to divide that by 12 because this is going to be monthly payments. So we pay every month versus the sample they have here, quarterly divided by 4. So I hit the tab key to move on. NPER and NPER, number of monthly payments, basically total number of payments is what that equals. This number is already given for us because it's already showing it to us in months. So we're going to just click on that cell. Sometimes it's going to show us that in years, which is probably more often, like a 3-year loan or something like 5-year, 10-year, 30-year, whatever. If that would be the case, then you again would have to divide it by the number of payments per year, which again would be 12. So if this would be a number in years instead of months, then we'd have to divide it. But it's not. It's already showing it to us in months. So we can just use the number that's in that cell. Again, we're going to hit the tab key to move along. PV stands for present value, the total amount that a series of future payments is worth now. So basically what that is the amount of the purchase price. So if we would add up all the payments, we would get our purchase price, which is the $15,000 here. So really that's what PV is, present value. What is that worth right now, the purchase price? So we're going to go ahead and click on that cell right there. So notice it gives us our formula result, and it always shows us it to us in a negative number, because again, this is money that the loan represents, money going out of our company, if it's a company, or going out of our house if this is our home. So they show it as a negative number. So we're going to go ahead and click OK and see that as a negative number. Sometimes people don't like to see it that way. So if you prefer to see that as a positive number, you can just click in front of the formula. So after the equal sign, before the P, and type in a minus sign. Again, 2 negatives equals a positive, so we're going to change that to a positive number if you prefer to see your monthly payments that way. So once we have that in there, we can go ahead and copy that down the column. And we could see what our monthly payment would be for each of the different models we're looking at here. Let's look at another example. Here we have a pre-owned van that we might be interested in purchasing. So again, we're going to go to the FX button here. We're going to choose the PMT function. The rate, again, is going to be the interest rate. In this case is 5%. And we're going to divide that by 12 because it's a monthly payment. The terms, the number of payments for the loan is going to be 36. So again, that's figured for us, excuse me, in terms of months, not years. So again, we can just put in that number. And then the PV, again, is the present value. The purchase price is what that is. And that's in cell B12 for us. The other thing you can do to show your formula result as a positive is you could put the negative number right here in front of the purchase price value. So again, whatever way you do it is not, however you want to do it is fine. As long as it's the correct number, whether it's a positive or negative, that doesn't matter to me. I prefer to look at it from a positive number. But again, it makes sense that it's negative because it's showing money going out. So again, we can see here the payment. It's figuring out for us how much that monthly payment would be depending on the different vans that we might be looking at. So, different ways we could change that if we want to. We could change our terms in months. We could say, you know what, we're going to pay this off in 48 months instead. We could see how that adjusts our payments. Or you could also play with the interest rate, say that we know that possibly the interest rate is going to go down. So we're going to type in 4.5% instead, see how that adjusts our payment. But, it doesn't give you huge changes, but because we're using a function here, we can see the differences in how that might adjust the payments for us on the loan. So hopefully that helps you understand the PMT function a little bit more. The other function I want to talk to you about is the if function. And the if function is helpful in kind of asking a question of the data. So what I'd like you to do is open up the CMP reports file, CMP reports. Or you don't have to open it. I just want to go through this example with you. So if you look at this, we can look at what we have going on here. We have employees, we have their quota and their actual sales, and we're going to determine if they should receive a bonus. So as I mentioned before, the if function allows you to ask questions of the data. So I'm not going to start with the equal sign. I'm going to start with finding the if function. So I'm going to go to my FX button again, choose if, and click OK. Except I just put that in the wrong cell. So let's try that again. D4, FX, if. So again, I'm following page 205 in the book if you wanted to follow in the book. But again, what we're doing here is we're going to ask a question of the data. We're going to tell Excel to look at this information. We're going to say, look at the quota, look at the sales. If the actual sales is greater than the quota, we're going to give them a bonus. And if not, we're not. So the first thing we're going to do here is perform what's called the logical test. And again, you can see here it says any value or expression that can be evaluated as true or false, yes or no. So our logical test is going to be, is C4 greater than B4? So is C4 greater than B4? We can see visually that yes, it is. Notice right away it puts true over here, kind of already telling us that we know it's true for this very first column. So now what we have to do is we have to put in a formula here that says if it's true, this is what we want it to do. So we want Excel to take C4, their actual sales, and multiply that times 15%. And again, notice it's giving us the formula result because we already know it's true, and it's kind of working through the problem for us. Then we're going to say if it's false, then just put 0 for their bonus. So basically, again, if it's true, it's going to figure a 15% bonus. If it's false, meaning they didn't meet their quota, then they're not going to get a bonus. And once we have that typed in, we can see the formula result right here. Their bonus would be $15,000. It's a pretty nice bonus. So we'll go ahead and click OK. And again, because we used our cell references, we used the if function, we can drag that down. And as I mentioned before, and I should mention, the reason why we're not seeing 0 here is because of the formatting. So if I have, this is accounting formatting, so that's how that's showing up, which is fine. You can always change that to something different if you'd like. I'm going to go ahead and add the $sign here to make that similar to the others. But you can always change that to general formatting or number if you want the actual 0 to show up in there. We could also go in there and we could say instead of 0, we're going to just put in the word no bonus instead. And it would accept that as well as text. So if I copy that down, notice instead of a 0, it's putting no bonus in there. And now I don't want those $signs in there because we don't usually copy $signs down. We just want commas. Okay, so if function, hopefully that makes sense. If function again, and just like I had mentioned in the PMT function, it's nice to use this function arguments box because it helps kind of talk you through the formula. And what we're doing here again is we're asking a question of the data. If C4 is greater than B4, then if true, do this. If false, do this. And you can use formulas in here or text as I just showed you. So let's look at this next example here. We have the discount price. So in this case, we're going to use the if function again, and we're going to ask a question of the data that if the discount price, or if the price is greater than $599, we're going to give them a discount. So again, we're going to start with the FX button, the if function here. Our logical test is going to be B14 is greater than $599. So if the price is greater than $599, then we want to give them a discount. So we're going to take B14 times 95.95, 95%. And then in the value if box, we're just going to put in B14 again. So basically what we're saying there is if it's not greater than $599, we're not giving them a discount. So we're just telling it to put the regular price back in there. So we're going to go ahead and click OK. And then we can go ahead and determine the discount there. We'll go ahead and type in that formula. So that's just a simple formula. Price minus the discount price would give us the actual discount there. And then we could copy both of those down the column here by selecting them both and then dragging down. And again, it copied my $signs. I don't want it to do that. I want those to be commas. Comma formatted, so just the top row has $signs. As we talked about earlier, that's a good formatting practice to get used to. Okay, one last one here as an example. In this particular case, we want to look at this orientation that our employees did. We're going to average the 3 quizzes, and then we're going to determine if they passed or failed these quizzes. So this formula starts on the bottom, page 207. So first we have to figure out the average. And just a reminder again of some different shortcuts you can do. I can select all these cells and then the blank cells next to it to show that I want to average that. I can go to the auto sum drop down and choose average, and it'll plop those averages in there for me. And then I'm going to go to this column, or this column, and I'm going to put in an if function saying that if the grade is greater than 79, I want it to put a pass in there. If it's not, then it's going to put the word fail in there. So we're going to use the if function again. And our logical test is going to be if E31 is greater than 79, then it's going to put the word pass in the cell. If it's not, then it's going to put the word fail. Oops, I want to capitalize that one. Just a reminder, anything you type in here is exactly what's going to show up in the cell. So I want to capitalize, and obviously if there's any spelling errors, we want to fix those too. One thing I want to note before we continue is notice it's greater than 79. Now we don't have any examples of this, but if we had someone who had a 79 exactly, that would not be a passing grade because it has to be greater than 79. If we want to include 79 in there, then we'd have to do greater than or equal to, which is not what they're asking. So we won't do that, but I just want to point that out to you. Notice it's greater than, it's not, that means it's not including 79. So it'd have to be an 80 or higher in order for it to be true, and put the word pass in there. All right, we'll click OK. And again, drag down the column to copy that information down the column. And again, we could spot check that quickly and see, yep, this is not greater than 79, and this is not greater than 79. Both of those should be a fail, and all three of these would be considered a pass. So I hope this helps you to better understand how to use the functions, the PMT function and the if function. You have to do both of these in the formula. Again, I can't encourage you enough to use those function argument boxes to help kind of talk you through doing those formulas. As always,